Hi, Gene Burnett from GeneBurnett.com. Hey, I thought I'd talk a little bit today about inspiration and why I advise you to not wait for it. Don't wait for inspiration. I was talking with one of my students. His name is Tim, and his son, Colton, has had ALS for, I think, diagnosed like 10 years ago, back in 2008 or so. It's now, as of this shooting, 2018. And Colton is a photographer, a very good photographer, I think, and yet he has ALS and is confined to a wheelchair. And Tim and I were talking about inspiration, and Tim was sharing how Colton told him that he doesn't wait around for inspiration and doesn't believe in waiting for inspiration, that he doesn't have that luxury, and so he just goes out into the field sometimes without a clear idea of what he wants to photograph or what he wants to do that day, and just gets in the field, just gets in the job, gets into the world with it, and sees what happens, and how often it turns out well. And that really got me thinking about my own life and my own practice, and it's very similar. As a songwriter, those of us who write songs, we all know how great it is when you just wake up with a song almost already written in your mind and in your body. And like McCartney, he woke up one morning with the melody to Yesterday in his head, and the most covered song ever in history, I believe, over 2,000 covers of that song. So that's great. I've had songs like that. I once was on the way to an open mic, and someone in the car mentioned something, and I said, "Oh man, what a great idea for a song," and an hour later, I was playing that song on stage at that open mic. I mean, I literally wrote it on the way there and once we got there. So those are great. It's great when you know what you want to take a picture of, or you suddenly see something amazing and you think, that's my shot. Or when you wake up with a song in your head or on the edge of being in your head, and you have the feeling of like it's just ready to, like you're suddenly pregnant. That's great, and in martial arts practice, there are times when I just wake up with a clear idea of what I want to do, what I want to practice, what I want to work on. Maybe it's a new angle on an old drill, or maybe it's just I remember something I haven't worked on for a while, or I go out to practice and I'm excited about practicing, and I feel great, and my body almost sort of knows what it wants to do. But those aren't the majority of times, and life is too long and too short to wait around for those kind of inspirations or inspiring moments. I find I go out and practice whether I want to or not, whether I feel like it or not. I don't wait to have the perfect feeling about a song to start writing. I go over to my computer here and I hit my new songs folder, go into ideas, which I've got labeled as very hot, warm, cool, cold, and just flashes, just like little bits and pieces. Every idea I have starts out, I put it on a Word document and I dump it in this very hot folder. And the latest one was number 257 since I started doing this. So after they've been in this very hot folder for a while, every once in a while I'll go through there and either demote them to a lower folder like hot, warm, cool, and cold, or I keep them in the hot folder and hopefully finish them someday. Likewise, sometimes I go down to my cold folder, my cool, my warm, my hot, and I just review what's there, and I bump them up if I like them, and I bump them down if I don't. So I'm kind of in the process of prioritizing those ideas, which ones feel the most ripe and ready to work with, until they end up in that very hot, And when they're done, I bump them over to my new album folder because that's just the latest project I'm working on. So sometimes I have a great idea and I just go with it, and that song gets written fairly quick order. But lots of times they take a long time, sometimes months, sometimes years, between when I first get that germ of an idea and when the song is done. So almost every day I'll come to this very hot folder and I'll just look over the ideas that are there. If I'm tired, it's late at night, I'm not feeling that inspired, but I just pick one and I open it up, and there's a Word document, and I look at it and I see if I can bump it forward a little bit, come up with a new idea or a new phrase, or just, you know, move it forward a little bit. I have this feeling like even if I don't have a clear inspiration, I can at least sharpen my tools. I can at least try to apply myself to just, you know, think about, like, what do I mean by that? Or can I stretch that line a little bit? Or is there a verse there? Is there an idea there? Can I write another verse along the lines of what I've written already? And so I get into it a little bit, and sometimes a song gets written slowly, and it just slowly comes to fruition, and one day it's clear that what it is. Likewise with practice, you know, aside from my regular Tai Chi practice, I've been training in something called non-classical Kung Fu, which is the work of Jesse Glover, who was Bruce Lee's first student, and it's a lot of work. We do this kind of Chi Sao type thing, Bruce's version of Chi Sao, which with a lot of pressure on the body and structure, learning how to feel holes and feel someone's structure, and then we do a lot of lots and lots of pad work, hundreds and thousands of punches. So it's a bunch of work, and we train. I train 3 days a week up at my friend Todd's place, and it's uphill above the park that I teach on, about maybe a mile from here. Mostly uphill bike ride, and mostly in the, as I say, 3 days a week in the afternoon. And so you know, I teach 3 or 4 hours in the morning. On those days, I come home, have a lunch, and you know, rest, lie down for a little bit. You know, maybe 45 minutes or an hour. Sometimes I want a longer rest in the afternoon. I'm not a young guy anymore, and I stay up late. I'm a nocturnal person, so. But you know, I get up after 45 minutes of napping a little bit, and I really wish it had been a 2-hour nap, and I got to get on my bicycle and ride up that hill, and then get off my bicycle and throw a few thousand punches and against the pads, and then do the sticky stuff. And you know, I don't always feel inspired to do that. And I got to say, in the year and a half or so that I've been training in that, only once or twice have I woken up feeling like, oh man, I'm tired, and gotten on my bike and biked up there and left feeling the same way. Only once or twice. Most of the time, by the time I get there, I'm warmed up, and I take what energy I have and I go for it in that session, and I leave feeling much better than I started, and feeling really glad that I went. So I don't wait to feel inspired to go up there. I feel like I want to just get my tools sharp and just get out there in the world and see what happens. And that works out so much better than when I was younger and lazier and always was waiting for inspiration to really get to work. So I'm going to include a link to Colton's website with all his photography and stuff. It's really great. He works, I believe, I think he works exclusively with older film cameras, and just does some terrific work. Here's I don't know if you can see this, but I'll make this the thumbnail of the video. This is Colton, and here's his one of his cool cameras. They're out there. He's at Smith Rock taking pictures. There's Colton. Colton did Tai Chi with me for a while when he was more ambulatory several years ago. I just want to read you a little bit of what Colton wrote to me. I told him I was going to make this video, and he says, I was diagnosed June of 2008, but I knew I had ALS by January of 2008. Photography was something I had been interested in for a long time, but it didn't really start getting serious. Didn't really start getting serious about until late 2007. Learning that I had ALS was learning that I had ALS was definitely a catalyst that pushed me to get really serious about photography, and ALS has been something that is always there, pushing me onward every day. When I was first diagnosed, I didn't know if I would be living in 2 years or not, so every day since, I have maintained a now or never attitude towards photography and life in general. As I see it, I don't have the luxury of waiting for inspiration, and really that isn't where true creativity comes from. Like you say, it's nice when you're suddenly inspired with an image or a thought or how to proceed, but then sudden inspiration is the product of the drive to work hard and not wait around. Photography also became something I could focus my mind and energy towards that was a source of positive thought for me. Living with a terminal illness, it's easy to drown yourself in negativity, which in my mind will only hasten the decline. So don't wait for inspiration. You know, there are plenty of things you can do that are not necessarily, you know, the creative peak of your art. You can sharpen your tools, so to speak. If you're a writer, you can just write what you're looking at on your desk. You can just pick a friend you know and describe them. You can just learn a new word. You can just pull out a dictionary and learn a few new words. If you're a writer like me, you can listen to music for inspiration a little bit, get some ideas. You can pull out your idea file and just see if you can tweak one, bump one forward, just come up with a line or a word or two that will help it out. If you're a martial artist, you can get up and see how your body's feeling. Even if you're not feeling inspired to practice or have a great notion of what to do, you can do something. You can just throw a few hundred punches and see if anything occurs to you. Get your feet wet, so to speak, and get into the field and start moving and start stretching and see if something opens up for you. And at the very least, you can train. You can keep your tools sharp and ready for those moments when the inspiration really does hit. And sometimes, if you're lucky, just getting out there, you'll find your inspiration once you're out there. Once you're out there taking pictures, once you're out there, you know, writing, once you're out there moving and practicing, you might find that inspiration finds you. But I definitely don't recommend waiting around for it. I'm going to include a link to Colton's Instagram and his website in the description of this video. I hope you check out his photography and look at his work, because it really is great stuff. That's about it. So thanks for watching. I appreciate that. I don't have ads on these videos. I'm not a big time channel, and I don't have any desire to be really, or ambition to be. So if you like this kind of thing and you like to support what I'm doing with my nature and music and Tai Chi videos, I'll leave a link down there. You can give me a small or large donation on PayPal if you wish, but no problem. I started making these videos just to share and hope that they'd be helpful to you in whatever you're doing. So that's my main motivation. But it is nice to make a little money. I used to make maybe $100 a year on ads on YouTube, but since they've stopped letting us small-time channels put ads on our videos, I can't do that anymore, which actually feels pretty good, because I always had mixed feelings about those ads anyway. They were kind of annoying to my viewers, and I don't know, I'm not a big corporate dude. So anyway, if you'd like to help me out, please do. Otherwise, you can also visit GeneBurnett.com for more about me and the stuff that I do. Thanks for watching.